Weather continues to remain active as we close out the month of May. From frequent bouts of severe thunderstorms and flooding across the central and western U.S. to a potential tropical disturbance off the southeast coast, here is your latest forecast. So before we get into the severe weather side of things, let's take a look at the current conditions across the country on Thursday morning. We're seeing some active weather across the plains and the Rockies as multiple disturbances move over the region. We're also seeing a cluster of weakening storms heading south over western Texas, with other thunderstorms and heavy rainfall occurring over places like Oklahoma and Kansas. Another thing to note is this possible tropical disturbance off the southeast coast, and I'll have more on that later in the video. Now moving on to today's severe weather and flash flood potential, we see a marginal risk of severe storms extending from the Texas and Mexican border up into eastern Colorado. A separate marginal risk is also in place over a large portion of Montana. In regards to flash flooding, we have an expansive marginal risk over a large portion of the plains, northern Rockies, and the Intermountain West. We also have a marginal risk over the central and southern Florida peninsula. For Friday, May 26th, the severe weather threat will increase slightly, particularly in two areas. One is over eastern New Mexico and the other's over southeast Montana and northeast Wyoming. A marginal risk also extends from Canada down to Mexico. The risk for excessive rain will cover a similar area as Thursday, but there's one significant difference, and that is the marginal risk along the southeast coast. This is in association with a tropical disturbance, which will be moving closer and closer to Georgia and the Carolinas. By Saturday, severe storms will occur in the same area once again, from Canada down to Mexico. Flash flooding remains a threat over a similar area again, with an increasing risk of flooding centered over the Carolinas. As we go into the last few days of May, I'm expecting severe storms to threaten similar areas. Weather models agree on daily development of storms over the Intermountain West and the plains through the last days of May, possibly shifting slightly further east by May 31st. This, of course, will continue the flood potential wherever thunderstorms repeatedly move over the same areas. With all this in mind, let's take a look at the tropical disturbance off the southeast coast. The National Hurricane Center is currently not expecting this system to develop, only giving it about a 10% chance of forming in the next 7 days. Whether or not it gains a name, it looks to bring heavy rain, gusty winds, and possible flooding to places like the Carolinas, Georgia, Florida, and maybe Virginia. Along the coast, rip currents and coastal flooding look to be additional risks. Over the next 7 days, this is a forecasted precipitation to look out for across the lower 48. We can see how some of the heaviest rain is forecasted from Montana down into the southern plains, which coincides with daily thunderstorm potential expected. Another area of potentially heavy rainfall looks to occur from Florida to Virginia, as that storm system moves inland through the rest of the week. That will conclude today's video. If you enjoyed this brief analysis, make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel for more important weather forecasts and updates.